Hi everyone, this is DKeys bringing you my recommended Scepter Hammer Elementalist builds following the December 2013 patch. While there are many hammer-based builds that vary on the spectrum from maximum DPS to more party utility, I recommend 3 builds for general dungeoning and Fractals. The first is the highest personal DPS, the second makes use of persisting flames to provide fury to your party, and the third helps provide vulnerability through a weak spot. The Adept and Master level minor traits in Fire aren't very important to your overall DPS rotation, but can provide some burning. For your Adept major trait, we take Conjurer for extra charges on conjured weapons, and at the Master level, take Burning Precision for more burning uptime. If you don't need additional burning, you can take Internal Fire for more damage while doing your Fire Burst combo, or Burning Fire for additional conditional removal. The Grandmaster minor trait, Burning Rage, now provides a 10% damage modifier on burning enemies. In Air, Bolt to the Heart is a damage modifier that activates when an enemy's health is low. And in Earth, Stone Splinters grants a 10% damage modifier when within 600 range of an enemy. In Water, the Adept and Master level minor traits help maintain our Scholar's bonus. And Piercing Shards is a 20% damage modifier to vulnerable foes while in water, and Vital Striking is another Scholar's bonus. The last damage modifier we can pick up in this build is Bountiful Power, which does 1% more damage for each unique boon on you. My favorite variant of this build shifts 5 points out of water and into fire to pick up the Grandmaster major trait, Persisting Flames. This trait increases the duration of my fire fields by 2 seconds and grants 10 seconds of fury, in addition to the normal 3 stacks of 20-second might to party mates within 360 range of my blast finishers in any fire field. If my party is having problems maintaining 25 stacks of vulnerability on foes, and others can provide fury for the group, I trait heavily into air instead of water. The Air Master minor trait means that when I attune to air, I hit the target with a lightning bolt that does about as much damage as one hit from a lightning whip. The Master major trait, Arcane Lightning, adds 10% critical damage for 15 seconds after using an arcane skill, which helps compensate for the modifiers lost from trading less in water. The Grandmaster minor trait, Weak Spot, will help stack vulnerability, especially during the initial might stacking combos and when using Fiery Greatsword. When using Lightning Hammer, you can expect to sustain about 2 or 3 stacks of vuln on bosses with this trait. My exotic armor set is full Berserker with superior runes of the Scholar. In organized groups, there are enough other sources of might that an Elementalist really doesn't need boon duration runes. My weapons and trinkets are all Ascended Berserker gear. For my Ascended armor set, I plan on using an Assassin's helm, chest and pants, and Berserker's shoulders, gloves, and boots. This armor mix will give me about 3% more critical chance, which then frees up some of my food and stacking sigil options. For general dungeoning, a Scepter with a Sigil of Night and an offhand with a Sigil of Force will cover most Fractals and dungeons that people typically run. I prefer Dagger for the better initial burst damage, but Focus will allow you to stack might faster and has a longer lasting fire field. I also have a Scepter with an Undead Slaying Sigil for Ara, and offhands with energy sigils for fights where I might need to dodge a little bit more often. I also carry a pair of Bloodlust stacking and Perception stacking weapons for faster stacking depending on my build. My consumable and stacking sigil selections vary from group to group. When including food, stacks, fury, banners, and other party buffs, I try to keep my crit chance between 85 and 95% so that when I pick up a lightning hammer, I don't waste its extra precision. I use appropriate slaying potions in dungeons and scale venom in fractals over other unique consumables, but if you'd like to use something else, use sharpening stones. Only use maintenance oils if you don't have Signet of Fire and Spotter. We received an interesting new heal skill in this patch that adds to our might stacking potential. I now use Arcane Brilliance if I don't need a burst heal because it is a blast finisher and works with traits that activate on arcane skill use. I'll use Glyph of Elemental Harmony if I need a burst heal, because I can likely get the channel off before I have to dodge again, or I'll use Ether Renewal if I need condition removal. My utilities are typically Signet of Fire, which grants 180 precision as its passive bonus, Arcane Wave, which is a blast finisher on a 30-second cooldown, and Conjure Lightning Hammer, which has a very powerful auto attack chain that includes a blast finisher and a cleave range blind. If I need more defensive utilities, I'll usually swap Signet of Fire out for Arcane Shield, which will protect me from 3 hits over 5 seconds and act as a stun breaker. I'll also use Glyph of Storms and Earth Attunement when fighting a lot of powerful trash mobs because it applies blindness up to 5 enemies every 3 seconds for the 10-second duration of the storm. If clearing groups of weaker enemies or large structures, I will take Conjure Frostbow for its AoE, which is its skill 4 once conjured. My elite in most cases is Conjure Fiery Greatsword for its great DPS, though sometimes I'll choose Glyph of Elementals and cast it in Earth Attunement for a face tank for some situations or for soloing. When running through trash mobs, I'll typically change my skills as well. I'll choose Arcane Shield, Lightning Flash, which is a 900 range blink, and Mist Form, which is a 3-second invulnerability skill. I'll also make good use of my skills in Air Attunement, Ride the Lightning, usually after I cast Arcane Shield, and Updraft for additional swiftness if I don't have party mates providing that for me. You can also use Conjure Fiery Greatsword for running, though it's usually more effective for battle. The power and utility of a Scepter Hammer Elementalist is based around using his or her blast finishers and fire fields to stack might, and, if using Persisting Flames, Fury. If using Scepter Dagger, a high might stacking rotation that also does good DPS starts with Dragon's Tooth, wait half a second after the channel has finished, follow up with a Ring of Fire so that the monster is towards the edge of the ring, then Phoenix in or behind the target's hitbox. Cast Arcane Brilliance while swapping to Earth, and use Earthquake while swapping to Water. Conjure your Lightning Hammer and cast Arcane Wave, and auto attack for about 15 seconds. Swap to Fire, and then auto attack until you have 1 charge left on your Lightning Hammer, and then drop your Lightning Hammer. For the second Lightning Hammer, perform a might stacking combo of Dragon's Tooth, wait half a second, Ring of Fire, Phoenix, and Fire Grab. Use Arcane Brilliance, and then pick up your Lightning Hammer while swapping to Water Attunement. Cast Arcane Wave once in Water Attunement, and auto attack with your Lightning Hammer. This rotation will grant 18 stacks of Might and a minute of Fury for the first Lightning Hammer, and 15 stacks of Might and 50 seconds of Fury for the second hammer without any external fire fields. We don't use Churning Earth because it is a DPS loss and it's often difficult to complete the channel. If you don't have Persisting Flames, you'll get about 15 stacks of Might with the first hammer and 12 with the second hammer. Additionally, if the battle won't extend past 30 seconds, you can use Fire Grab after Ring of Fire for additional burst damage at the expense of 3 stacks of Might. Scepter Focus has better Might stacking potential than Scepter Dagger, but has less burst. Its rotation starts with Dragon's Tooth and Flame Wall, followed by Phoenix while swapping to Earth Attunement. Cast Magnetic Wave while standing in the Flame Wall, followed by Arcane Brilliance. Swap to Water, cast Comet if your target is still in the fire field, and then Arcane Wave. Finally, conjure your Lightning Hammer. Complete 5 auto attack chains, swap to Fire, finish 3 more chains, and then drop your hammer. Then repeat this rotation. With Persisting Flames, this rotation will give 21 to 24 stacks of Might for each hammer, and over a minute of Fury without additional fire fields. Without Persisting Flames, this rotation will give 21 stacks of Might for each hammer. If stacking might before a battle, I use Dragon's Tooth, then run up underneath the Dragon's Tooth to cast my fire fields, Phoenix, then Arcane Wave, then Arcane Brilliance, and if necessary, I swap to Earth for Turning Earth or Magnetic Wave. Then I conjure my Lightning Hammer while I'm running into melee. If I have party mates providing fire fields for stacking might, I ask them to drop their fields as I'm picking up my hammer if I'm using offhand dagger, or after a hammer auto attack chain if I'm using offhand focus. If I don't have other party mates providing fire fields, I often use fire elemental powders from Vendor and Fireheart Rise. These powders summon embers that last up to 5 minutes, and create lava fonts that are fire fields that I can blast. Using embers is not a substitute for good party coordination because I often have to move around to stand in the fire field while continuing my rotation, dodging. If I spend a lot of time dodging and moving around in a fight, and there aren't plentiful fire fields to keep might up, I'll drop my hammer at the end of the 6th or 7th auto attack chain so that I can stack might for the rest of the party. Fiery Greatsword got a usability buff this patch in that you can move while conjuring it. When using a Fiery Greatsword, I deselect my target and have auto-targeting turned off. I'll use skill 2 if I need to apply burning, then use skills 3 and 4 through my enemy and preferably into a wall to deal a good amount of damage. I'll use skill 5 to put an 8-second AoE down that will strike up to 5 targets. Skill 1 also does decent damage, but it can't be interrupted by other skills, so be mindful of its channel. If you have questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. Thanks for watching!